This man loves you so much, but he has another woman who. My beloved child, something has been unfolding quietly behind the heart of the man who loves you, and what you are about to hear may completely change the way you understand his silence. He has tried to appear normal. He has tried to continue his days as though everything inside him is settled. But whenever your memory enters his mind, something shifts. There is a feeling connected to you that he has never been able to replace, no matter how much time passes. And yet, there is another woman around him. That is the part you need to understand carefully, because her presence does not tell the whole story. Don't skip. The truth is much deeper than what can be seen from the outside. She may have a place in his present circumstances, but you have a place in his emotions that he has struggled to explain even to himself. Something recently happened that forced him to compare what he feels around her with what he has always felt around you, and that comparison brought him to a realization he was not prepared for. He suddenly understood why certain conversations feel empty, why certain moments remind him of you, and why your absence can still feel louder than another person's presence. But there is one detail about this other woman that changes everything, and I need you to stay till the end because something huge is waiting for you. What nobody sees is that this man has been carrying an unanswered question inside himself: why can't I completely move past this person? And every time he thinks he has found the answer, another memory of you appears. A sentence you once said. A small moment you may have forgotten. The way you understood something about him without needing a long explanation. These memories have become impossible for him to dismiss. But here comes the surprising part. The other woman has started noticing that part of his heart seems somewhere else. She has noticed the pauses. She has noticed how his energy changes whenever certain subjects come up. And recently, she asked him something so simple that he could not immediately answer. She wanted to know whether there was someone from his past or present who still mattered to him more than he admitted. He became quiet. Not because he had nothing to say, but because one person immediately entered his mind: you. Don't skip, because this is where the story takes a completely unexpected turn. Instead of pushing that thought away as he normally would, he allowed himself to face it. And for the first time, he admitted privately that his feelings for you were never as small or temporary as he had tried to convince himself. He realized that another person entering his life had not automatically erased what his heart associated with you. And then the other woman said something he never expected her to say. She did not give him the reaction he had imagined. Instead, she looked at the situation differently and made him confront one question: if his heart still keeps returning to someone else, what truth has he been avoiding? That question stayed with him. Hours later, when everything became quiet, he found himself thinking about you again, but differently this time. He was no longer asking whether he still cared. Deep inside, he already knew that answer. He was asking what he was supposed to do with feelings that had survived distance, silence, confusion, and change. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because this is only the surface of what happened. There is a reason this other woman entered the story, and it may not be the reason you are expecting. Her presence has forced him to recognize something about you that he had been avoiding for a very long time. And now he is standing emotionally between what looks comfortable on the outside and what feels impossible to ignore on the inside. The most shocking part is that he has already started considering a decision, one that could completely change the direction of this connection. But before you understand that decision, you need to know what the other woman discovered about his feelings for you, because once she noticed it, she told him something about you that left him completely speechless. There was one thing she noticed before he was ready to admit it himself: whenever your name, your memory, or anything connected to you entered the conversation, he became different. His voice changed. His attention sharpened. Even when he tried to act unaffected, there was a softness he could not completely hide. And the other woman finally told him, "You don't react like that when you talk about someone who means nothing to you." Those words stayed in his mind because they touched the exact truth he had been avoiding. "Don't skip." What happened next made everything even more intense. Instead of immediately defending himself, he became silent and started remembering the moments when you made him feel understood without asking him to become someone else. He remembered the smallest details: your way of speaking, your energy, the moments when you somehow knew something was on his mind. That was when he realized something surprising. He had spent so much time trying to understand why he could not forget you that he never considered the possibility that his heart simply did not want to. And now another woman had noticed what he had been hiding from himself. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The biggest revelation was still coming, and it began when she asked him one question he could not escape: if this person came back into your life today, would your heart still choose the same direction? He tried to answer quickly, but nothing came out. His silence became the answer he was afraid to speak. Then something completely unexpected happened. The other woman stopped looking at you as someone she needed to compete with and started looking at the situation as something he needed to understand honestly. She told him that feelings cannot be measured by who is physically closer at this moment. Sometimes the person who is absent can still occupy the deepest emotional space. That sentence shook him because it described exactly what had been happening. He could be surrounded by conversations, responsibilities, and people, yet one quiet moment could bring his thoughts directly back to you. Don't skip, because this is where his feelings became impossible for him to dismiss. That evening, he asked himself what he would say if he suddenly had one completely honest conversation with you. No pretending. No pride. No carefully chosen words. And the answer surprised even him. He would tell you that you mattered more than his behavior ever showed. He would tell you there were moments when he wanted to reach toward you but questioned whether you still wanted to hear from him. He would tell you that seeing life continue without knowing what you truly felt created a question he could never fully silence. Most importantly, he would admit that another person being around him only made him understand the difference between simply having company and feeling genuinely connected. Something huge is waiting for you, because after this realization, he did something privately that showed his thoughts were becoming much more serious. Later, when he was alone, he returned to something connected with you, a memory, an old conversation, or a detail he had kept because it still carried meaning. And suddenly the truth became clearer: he was not only remembering you, he was imagining what could happen if the distance between you disappeared. That possibility frightened him because it meant he could no longer pretend his emotions were finished. Stay till the end. The other woman had accidentally opened a door inside him that he had kept closed for a long time, and now everything behind that door was returning at once. But there is another layer you have not heard yet. She knows something about his behavior that you may never have noticed, and when she finally explained it to him, he could not deny it. She told him that whenever he spoke about the future, there was always one missing piece, as though he could describe where he wanted to go, what kind of life he wanted, and what kind of peace he wanted, but he could never completely picture who belonged beside him. Then she asked him to close his eyes and imagine that future without thinking about what was convenient or expected. And the first person his heart brought forward was you. That moment changed the entire story, because now the question was no longer whether you still mattered. The question became what he was going to do about it, and the decision beginning to form inside him is far bigger than anything he has revealed so far. But what happened after that quiet realization was something even he could not explain away. For the first time, this man stopped asking himself who was physically present in his life and started asking who had truly touched his heart. The answer came faster than he expected. It was you. Not because everything between you had been perfect, and not because every moment had been easy, but because something about you had reached a place inside him that ordinary connection never reached. Don't skip. The other woman had unknowingly forced him to see the difference between comfort and depth, between attention and understanding, between someone being nearby and someone remaining unforgettable. And suddenly, memories he had pushed aside began returning with surprising clarity. He remembered a moment when you made him feel seen. He remembered words from you that seemed ordinary at the time but meant much more later. He remembered wondering whether you ever thought about him when everything became quiet. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. That night, he stopped fighting those questions. Instead, he allowed himself to imagine one simple possibility: what if you and he were given one completely honest conversation? No misunderstandings. No assumptions. No pretending not to care. The thought alone changed his entire emotional state, because he realized there were things he still wanted you to know, and then came the revelation he had been avoiding. The other woman asked him why he had never completely closed the chapter connected to you. He tried to explain it logically, but every explanation sounded incomplete. Finally, he admitted something much simpler: there were feelings he had never properly expressed. Don't skip, because that confession changed the atmosphere immediately. She understood that this was not simply about remembering someone from another time. There was unfinished emotion beneath everything. He had questions he never asked, words he never said, and moments he had replayed differently in his mind. And here is what surprised him most: the other woman did not tell him what decision to make. She told him that whatever he chose, he needed to stop hiding from the truth of his own feelings. Those words followed him everywhere. He began wondering whether you had misunderstood his silence. Maybe you believed he stopped caring. Maybe you thought his distance meant you had become unimportant. But inside him, the reality had been far more complicated. Something huge is waiting for you, because he then remembered one particular moment between you that changed the way he saw everything. It was a moment when he could have said more, could have shown more, could have made his feelings clearer, but he held back. Now that memory has become one of the biggest reasons he cannot simply walk forward pretending nothing remains. And this is where everything begins moving toward the decision he has been afraid to make. He now understands that the presence of another woman did not answer his questions about you. Strangely, it made those questions louder. Stay till the end. He has started wondering whether some connections return to the mind repeatedly because something still needs to be understood, spoken, or finally resolved. He does not know exactly what you would say if he opened his heart, and that uncertainty is what makes the next step difficult. But something inside him has changed. He is no longer comfortable pretending that you were simply another person who passed through his story. You left an emotional imprint, and now he knows it. Don't skip, because the most surprising part has not happened yet. The other woman recently noticed him doing something connected to you, something he believed nobody had seen. She did not interrupt him. She simply watched, understood, and later asked one sentence that left him completely still. That sentence forced him to confront whether he was staying where life felt familiar while secretly wishing for something his heart considered real. And when he finally answered her, he revealed something about you that he had never spoken aloud before. What he finally said was quieter than anyone expected, but the meaning behind it was enormous. There are things about her I have never found anywhere else. For a moment, even he seemed surprised that those words had escaped his heart. He had spent so long keeping everything contained that hearing himself acknowledge you openly changed something inside him. Don't skip. The other woman looked at him differently after that, because she finally understood that this was not simply a passing memory. She asked what made you so difficult for him to forget, and suddenly he had more answers than he expected. It was not one dramatic moment. It was the collection of little things, the way you could make an ordinary conversation feel meaningful, the way your presence stayed in his thoughts afterward, the way he sometimes wanted to tell you something before telling anyone else. Then she asked the question that completely shifted the story. If she mattered that much, why did you let silence become bigger than your feelings? He had no easy answer. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. That question made him realize that perhaps the biggest obstacle had never been another person. It had been everything he was afraid to say. From that moment, he started looking back differently. He remembered times when he almost reached out emotionally but stopped himself. He remembered wondering whether you would understand what he truly meant. He remembered choosing silence because silence felt easier than vulnerability. But now that choice looked completely different. Don't skip, because the other woman noticed something even deeper. Whenever he imagined losing the possibility of ever speaking honestly with you again, his expression changed immediately. That told her more than any explanation could. She told him that sometimes people spend so much energy protecting themselves from disappointment that they accidentally hide the very feelings they wish another person could understand. Those words stayed with him. Suddenly, he wondered whether you had been waiting for clarity while he had been waiting for certainty. Maybe both of you had been standing behind unanswered questions, each believing the other person had already moved forward. Something huge is waiting for you, because once he considered that possibility, his thoughts changed from remembering you to wondering what one truthful conversation could reveal. Now he is approaching a point where remaining silent feels harder than speaking. Stay till the end. He knows he cannot predict your response, and he knows feelings cannot be forced, but he also knows that pretending you never mattered would be dishonest. The surprising part is what the other woman told him next. She said she had already noticed the difference between the way he mentioned other people and the way he spoke about you. With everyone else, he described events. With you, he remembered details. That distinction left him speechless. Don't skip. He realized that even when he believed he was hiding everything perfectly, his emotions had been revealing themselves through the smallest things. And now there is one question becoming impossible for him to ignore. If you suddenly stood in front of him and asked what he had truly wanted all this time, what would he say? His answer is beginning to form, and it is far more emotional than even he expected. Because there is something he has never told you about the moment he first realized you were different, and that hidden moment may explain why another woman could enter his world, yet still never erase what he associates with you. The moment he first realized you were different did not happen when everything was perfect. It happened during an ordinary moment that somehow stayed with him long after it ended. You said something, looked at him in a certain way, or simply understood what he was trying to express without making him explain every detail. He remembers walking away from that moment with a feeling he could not name. At first, he dismissed it. But days passed, and he kept returning to it. That was when he quietly realized you had reached somewhere deeper than he expected. Don't skip. This matters because the other woman recently asked him when he first knew you were important, and that exact memory immediately came back. He became silent because suddenly everything connected. His feelings had not appeared because he was lonely, and they had not survived simply because he was holding on to the past. You had become associated with something he deeply valued, being understood. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The surprising revelation is that he has compared that feeling more than once, and every comparison has led him back to the same uncomfortable truth. What he felt with you had its own emotional signature, something he could not simply recreate by placing another person beside him. Then the other woman asked him something that changed the entire direction of the conversation. Does she even know? He looked at her without answering. That silence revealed everything. Don't skip. He suddenly realized there was a possibility you had never understood how deeply certain moments affected him. You may have seen his hesitation and thought it meant uncertainty about you, while he remembers it as uncertainty about himself. You may have interpreted distance as indifference while he was privately trying to control feelings that seemed bigger than he knew how to handle. And then came the thought that shook him most. What if you had eventually stopped waiting for clarity because he never gave it? Something huge is waiting for you. For the first time, he imagined you building a future in which he was no longer emotionally important. Instead of making him feel relieved, that possibility created an emptiness he could not ignore. He realized that he had been assuming the door would somehow remain open forever, even though he had never done anything to keep it open. That realization became the turning point. He stopped asking whether he should continue hiding what he felt and started asking how much longer silence could make decisions for him. Now something inside him is moving faster than before. Stay till the end, because the other woman noticed it too. She saw him become more reflective, more serious, almost as though he had finally understood that some opportunities cannot be treated casually. She told him that if he ever chose to speak to you, he should not arrive with promises or expectations, he should arrive with honesty. Those words changed everything. He began mentally forming the sentence he would say if he had only one chance to explain himself. Don't skip, because this sentence reveals what has been hidden beneath every previous part of the story. He would tell you that another woman being present never automatically meant you had disappeared from his heart. He would tell you that your memory kept returning precisely because there were emotions he had never given a proper voice. But there is something even bigger he has not admitted yet. Recently, he imagined receiving a message from you, and before he could stop himself, he knew exactly what he wished that message would say. That wish revealed the one thing he wants from you more than anything else, and once you hear what it is, his entire behavior may finally make sense. What he secretly wished your message would say was not complicated. He did not imagine a perfect confession or some dramatic promise. He imagined reading one simple truth from you, that the connection had mattered to you too, and that perhaps there was still room for one honest conversation. Don't skip. The moment he recognized that wish, everything inside him became clearer. He was not searching for proof that he had won something. He wanted to know whether what he had carried quietly had ever existed on both sides. And this is where the presence of the other woman created the most surprising realization of all. She had shown him, without intending to, that being close to someone cannot automatically create the emotional depth he remembers with you. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. He started asking himself why your smallest memories still felt so vivid. Why could he remember certain words you said months later? Why did particular songs, places, conversations, or quiet evenings bring your energy back into his mind? And then the answer finally appeared, because emotionally, he never gave your story a true ending. He simply stopped speaking while his feelings continued beneath the silence. But then the other woman revealed something he was completely unprepared to hear. She told him, every time you try to explain why you shouldn't care about her, you end up explaining how much you actually do. He froze. Don't skip, because those words exposed the contradiction he had been living with. Every reason he created for staying distant contained another memory proving how deeply you affected him. Every attempt to convince himself that everything had passed eventually became another conversation about you. And suddenly he saw himself from the outside. He realized he had been fighting an emotion instead of understanding it. Something huge is waiting for you, because this realization changed what he wants next. He no longer wants another endless cycle of guessing what you feel while hiding what he feels. He wants clarity. He wants to know whether the emotional door between you truly closed or whether both of you simply stopped standing near it. And there is one thing he fears, not rejection, not embarrassment, but discovering that he waited so long that you finally learned how to live without wondering about him. That possibility has made his next decision feel more important than ever. Stay till the end. He has begun thinking about what honesty would actually look like if he finally stopped protecting himself. He knows he cannot control your feelings, and he does not want to. What he wants is the chance to tell you what silence never communicated, that you mattered, that certain memories never became ordinary, and that another woman entering the picture did not erase the emotional place your connection created. Don't skip. Because here comes the revelation that changes the story again. The other woman recently asked him whether he would feel peaceful if you found someone else and completely closed this chapter. He tried to say he would accept whatever made you happy, but halfway through his answer, his voice changed. She noticed. He noticed. And in that instant, he understood something he had never allowed himself to admit: accepting your happiness and being emotionally ready to lose the possibility of you were two completely different things. Something huge is waiting for you, because after that conversation, he made a private choice. He decided there is one truth he can no longer keep buried, and it is connected to why he never gave another woman the part of himself that somehow remained tied to you. The truth he can no longer bury is this: a part of him kept comparing every new emotional connection to the way he once felt around you. He never planned to do it. Sometimes he did not even realize it was happening. But whenever someone tried to understand him, he remembered how naturally you once understood certain things. Whenever someone asked about his dreams, he remembered conversations where you listened differently. Whenever life became quiet, your memory returned without invitation. Don't skip. This is why the other woman became so important to the story, not because she replaced you, but because her presence made him recognize what had never been replaced. And when he finally admitted this privately, another realization followed immediately. He had spent so much time trying to control what he felt that he had never asked himself what those feelings were trying to tell him. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. He began remembering one specific conversation with you, a conversation he had replayed many times without ever telling anyone. There was something you said that day that sounded simple then, but now he understands it differently. It made him feel that perhaps you saw beyond the version of himself he showed everyone else. And once he remembered that feeling, he finally understood why losing emotional closeness with you had affected him more deeply than he ever admitted. Then came another unexpected moment. The other woman noticed that he was no longer defending his silence. Instead, he was questioning it. She asked him, "If you could change one thing about what happened between you two, what would it be?" Don't skip. He did not say he would change the timing. He did not say he would erase the difficult moments. His answer was much simpler: he would have been more honest. That confession revealed everything. He wished he had told you when he missed you. He wished he had explained when something bothered him instead of becoming distant. He wished he had shown you that your presence mattered before circumstances became complicated. Something huge is waiting for you, because while saying these things, he suddenly realized that he was speaking as someone who still cared, not as someone merely remembering an old chapter. And the other woman saw it too. She did not need another explanation. His own words had exposed what his silence had hidden for so long. For the first time, he understood that sometimes the deepest regret is not what happened, it is what was never communicated while there was still a chance to communicate it. Now his thoughts have shifted toward one question he cannot escape: if he finally spoke honestly, would you listen? Stay till the end. He does not expect you to forget everything or immediately give him an answer. What he wants is something much more meaningful, the opportunity for both of you to understand what was real without assumptions standing between you. Don't skip, because there is one final detail about the other woman that changes how you should understand everything happening now. She recently told him something about you that he initially rejected, but later he realized she might be right. She said, maybe she stopped showing you how much she cared because she believed you had already chosen another direction. Those words completely changed his perspective. He had spent so long wondering why you became quieter without considering that his own silence may have given you an answer he never intended to give. And now he is replaying everything again: the distance, the missed opportunities, the words left unfinished. Something huge is waiting for you, because this realization has pushed him closer to a choice. He is beginning to understand that if he wants the truth, he may finally have to become the person who speaks first. But before he does, there is one thing he needs to know about you, and that unanswered question is the only thing still holding him back.